Everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Crime Corner. My name is Tamara, and if you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm happy to have you. If you've been here before, then welcome back. If you like a good crime story, then I suggest that you subscribe to the channel. I mean, you don't have to, but I suggest that you do. You can also go ahead and like and share and hit the notification bell so you will not miss when I upload a new video. If you haven't watched part 1, then I suggest that you go and watch part 1. I'll put the link somewhere around this video, somewhere maybe in down there or across the screen, I don't know. But I'll put it somewhere so you can watch part 1. But this is part 2, so let's jump right into it. This is Veron Primus, The Horrific Crimes of Veron Primus, part 2. Grab yourself something to drink, grab you some wine, get you something to eat, some snacks, I don't know. Get comfortable and let's jump into part 2 of Veron Primus, Horrific Crimes. At the end of part 1, we found out that Veron Primus, while police were searching his home, they found a key to a Jeep that would link him to the murder of another female that took place months earlier. Now, the murder of Charlene Graves, it was puzzling to investigators, and it seems as though it would go unsolved because there was no evidence to link anyone at the time of the murder to her death. And so it just seems as though it would just be an unsolved case. But police did not give up. They still had her case at the back of their minds, and they were still looking out for evidence and things to link a suspect to the murder. And that's what happened when they went to the home of Veron Primus. They found the key to a Jeep that would link him directly to the murder of Charlene Graves. Now, 33-year-old Charlene Graves, she was described as a friendly, ambitious woman. She was the directing manager of a real estate company, and they had just opened up their new headquarters in Annisville on the 27th of March 2015. Charlene was introduced to a guy named Abdon Abbott by her secretary, and they were introduced via WhatsApp after Charlene expressed to her secretary that she wanted to meet someone and get back into, talking and dating. She wanted to meet someone to hang out with. And Charlene said, well, Abdon, you can pass by the office. You can pass by and say hi when you have a free time. And Charlene's secretary, Ranella, she said that Abdon passed by, but Charlene was not available in the office. So she only knew of one incident where they interacted face to face. On November the 12th, 2015, Ranella left her job. She left her workplace and she went to attend a funeral. After attending the funeral, she did not go back to work. She went to her mother-in-law's house. And the next morning, she went to work on the 13th of November. But upon arriving at work, she found that the air conditioner was still on. And she started calling out to her boss, but she did not get a response. Calling out to her boss and not getting a response, Ranella, she sought help from a male that she knew outside of the building, and he went in, climbed over the partition into Charlene's office, and when he did that, he stumbled upon Charlene's body in a pool of blood, and her lifeless body was just there. It was a gruesome, horrific sight for both the male and Ranella to behold when they entered Charlene's office. They did not expect to see that. Now, who wanted Charlene dead? As usual, that's the question. That's the first question that comes to anybody's mind when they hear a murder has taken place. Like, why? Who? Why? She was a well-known real estate agent, and she was known to not have any enemies. So police, they started investigating, they started piecing the puzzle together and tracing her steps. While they're doing that, they found Charlene's Jeep, a red Suzuki Jeep. They found that Jeep parked at Winson Hill at the side of the road. Who parked it there? It was not located where she worked, and it was not near where she lived. So who parked it there and who left it there while Charlene was in her office in a pool of blood? if police could find the person who parked the Jeep there and find out why the Jeep was there, maybe that could give them more insight as to what happened to Charlene and lead them to her killer. The Jeep was locked, and it appeared as though that it was driven there and left there to be found. Now, up until this time, it still seems as though that there were no suspects and no leads, and it would seem as though this was a case that would just be like a cold case and an unsolved case. It was just mysterious that this woman was found in her office, no signs of forced entry, and she was just lying in a pool of blood, and no suspects, nothing, no evidence linking anyone to the case until April 15th, 2016. Police went to his home and they found Moana Hathaway being held captive at Veron Primus's home. Now, this is the part where I remind you to watch part 1. If you haven't seen part 1, link it up. Link part 1, watch part 1. So while searching his home, police found the key to a Suzuki Jeep, and then alarm bells went off. Was that the key belonging to the Jeep of Charlene Graves? And if so, why did Veron Primus have it? And why did he have the key, but the Jeep was parked nowhere near his home in Vermont? Well, Veron Primus had a reason for that. And his reason was that he rented the Jeep from Charlene's secretary, Renella. And this is where we'd find out, remember that Abdon Abbott that Charlene was introduced to earlier in the story? We are now finding out that Abdon Abbott is Veron Primus. So he claimed that he normally rented the Jeep from Renella Bailey, who is Charlene's secretary, when Charlene is not in the country. But Charlene was in the country, and even though he rented the Jeep, then why did he not take it back to Renella so she could return it to Charlene? Well, his story is that he heard that Charlene was murdered, and he did not want to have anything to do with that. He did not want to be connected to it. He did not want to be associated with it. So he just decided that he would just leave the Jeep at the side of the road. Who found it, and he just pretended that he had nothing to do with it. He did not want to be connected. Now, obviously, Renella Bailey, she denied ever renting Veron Primus the Jeep. She denied renting him the Jeep while Charlene was in the country or even while she went away. And so Veron was arrested in April of 2016, and he was charged with the murder of 33-year-old Charlene Graves. Now, this is where the case gets really interesting, because during the trial, prosecution, the prosecution, the prosecutors, they brought forward a witness that would send shockwaves throughout the courtroom with her testimony, and someone who would link Veron directly to the murder of Charlene Graves. Media houses, they withheld her name from the public, and she also stated that she was afraid of the defendant, Veron Primus. And so I don't know her name. I'm just going to refer to her as the main witness. Trial began on June 14th, 2022. That's just last year. So they had him in prison awaiting trial since 2016. During the trial, the main witness claimed that she and Veron lived together in Camden Park. She also stated that she and Veron shared a biological and also a sexual relationship. Now, you know, she says biological, you know what that means, that they're related, right? But they also had a sexual relationship. She said that one night, on the night of November 12th, 2015, Veron left, usually with his bag. She asked, like, where are you going? And he said, I'm going hunting. That would be so strange for someone to hear. Like, if you ask somebody in the middle of the night, where are you going? And they say, I'm going hunting. Like, hunting for what? Whoa, what are you going hunting for, Manaku? She claimed that the next time she saw Veron, it was almost midnight, and he walked up in the yard holding a blade to the light, and she claimed that she saw what seemed to be blood on the blade of the knife. They chit-chat in the porch, and she could not believe that he was rent with blood. Like the stench of blood and the smell of blood was all over him. She said they chit-chatted a while and they went in the house. She got ready for bed. Veron, he took off his shoes. He climbed in the bed with her and he began to cry. He was like bawling. She consoled him and they fell asleep. I don't know. I'm thinking she probably was scared. She didn't know what to do in the moment. So, I mean, at the end of the day, like she said, they had a sexual and a biological relationship. So, taking those things into consideration, she probably did what she felt that was best in the moment to console him and not ask too much questions. The main witness stated that the next morning, she was getting ready for work and she noticed that Veron was getting ready to leave as well. So they walked and she assumed that they were going to catch a van. Now they're walking and they're talking. And while she's talking, she realized that she's not hearing a response. So she turned around and realized Veron was heading to a Jeep. So she said to him, "I didn't know you were driving." And he said, "Yeah, get in. I'll drop you to town." So they drove to town and he dropped her off at Stony Ground Medical Center. And he told her that the person he rented the Jeep from told him to park the Jeep there and to leave it there. That same week, she heard about the murder of Charlene Graves, and she, just by hearing the name, she was unaware of who Charlene was. And then, soon after, she saw a photo of Charlene that was circling around, and she was like, "Wait, I know this person. This is Veron's friend." She went to him and she was like, "Veron, did you hear about your friend?" And he was like, "Who friend?" She showed him a picture and she was like, "Isn't that your friend?" And he was like, "No, that's not my friend. I don't know who that is." And she was like, "Okay, I thought that was your friend. She looked just like the person you showed me the other day and said that was your sexy friend. But, you know, maybe I'm mistaken. So, yeah, let's leave that alone." He denied knowing who Charlene was. Jump forward to January 15th. It's now the main witness' birthday. And she was celebrating her birthday. And as usual, she would celebrate her birthday with friends. She stated that she had not seen her relative Veron for a while. And after celebrating with her friends, she decided to visit him at his home in Vermont. She took a taxi there and she got to his house where she met his girlfriend, Moana Hathaway. Again, I suggest that you look at part 1. At some point while she was there with Veron at his home, he sat her down and he showed her a picture of Charlene Graves. Now, do you see a pattern here? Like, if you've watched part 1, do you see a pattern where he likes to show off his victims to his other female friends? You see a pattern here, right? Okay, watch part 1. Now, after showing her the picture, she was like, "Yeah, I remember her." And he said to her, "I did it." And she was like, "What you mean you did it? You mean you killed her?" And he was like, "Yeah, I did it." And both of them began to cry. And she asked him, like, why did you do it? And he said, "I don't know. I don't know." After this encounter, they continued their relationship, as she said that she was afraid of Veron, which I understand, because after hearing that, you would probably want to distance yourself. But I mean, you're thinking, well, if he realizes I'm distancing myself, then he might come after me and kill me too. So she continued with him in their sexual relationship. And it was not until she heard of Veron's arrest for the kidnapping and rape of his girlfriend, Moana, who she met while she went to visit him in January, not knowing that she was there being held captive against her will. Not until that time, she decided to tell a friend of what Veron told her while she was at his house, that he was the one that murdered Charlene Graves. The friend encouraged her to tell her story to the police. And so she went and she told the police everything that she knew. And she gave her statement to the police, which further cemented the fact that he was the one who killed Charlene Graves. But of course, the defense, that's what they do. They defend. So of course they're going to try to discredit the witness's story. But do I believe her story? Yes. Why? Because I mean, what reason would she have to come up with a story like that? At the end of the day, that's her relative, and they shared a sexual relationship, and that by itself is like taboo in society. Now, why would somebody come out with a story like that that would also bring shame on them, and that you even continue the relationship after knowing such details that went on, and after him admitting that he murdered somebody? I don't think that she would lie about that. Who would? Who would put themselves in such a position of humiliation just to tell a story of that nature? Now, the evidence was stacked, and they were stacked really high against Veron Primus. From finding the keys to the Jeep in his home while being arrested for kidnapping and raping Moana Hathaway, his girlfriend. From knowing the victim and being in contact with the victim, having communication with the victim, to the overwhelming confession that was given by a relative and someone who had a personal sexual relationship with him. All this evidence was stacked up against him, and it was enough for the jury of 7 women and 5 men to convict him for the murder of Charlene Graves. And they found him guilty after only deliberating for 3 hours and 26 minutes. Now, I mean, Veron is such a miserable person. Like, the man just not keep still. And like I said, it's like the case that keeps on giving. It's like he's just pure trouble. Because while he was awaiting his sentencing in custody, around 6 a.m., it was discovered that he was missing from his jail cell, along with another prisoner, Ulrich Hansen. And so now the hunt for Ulrich and Veron was on. And mind you, this is the second time that Veron is escaping custody. They were found the next day in a rented apartment in Lomans. And so one of the women told police that she communicated with Veron via WhatsApp while he was in prison, and that when she was home, she just heard a knock on the door. She opened the door, and there was Veron along with Ulrich. And they were not dressed in prison outfits or clothing. They were dressed in their own clothing, and they told her that they just wanted somewhere to sleep for the night and that they will leave the next day. But they really wanted somewhere to sleep for the night, and so hesitantly she allowed them to enter her home. She stated that she was scared, she was frightened, she did not know what to do, but she allowed them in anyways. She also noted that while she was scared and she was in shock at seeing this person who she's been talking to and thinking that he is in prison, she did not expect to see him at her door. She stated that Veron Primus, he made sexual advances towards her, and initially she refused. She did not want to have any sexual interactions with him, and then she just gave in, and they did have sex by the end of the night. On December 16, 2022, Veron Primus went to court, and he was handed the sentence of 34 years in prison. 34 years. He is now currently serving his time in prison. Of course, I have my opinions. I have my own questions. But for my first opinion is that I think he should have gotten life in prison. I don't think a person like that should be released back into society. We have to realize that there are just some people that cannot be rehabilitated back into society. And I think Veron Primus is one of them. That's just my opinion. I just think he's one of them that if he comes out of prison, he's going to probably murder another female, rape another female, kidnap another female. Based on the crimes that he's committed in the past, I just can't help but wonder, because he has such a way of committing the crimes that you can't link him to them that easily. And without Moana being in that home and police going to that home, they would not have found the keys to the Jeep. and they would not have been able to link Veron to the murder of Charlene Graves. And it just leads me to wonder, like, I wonder what other murder he probably had committed, what other crimes he probably had committed that went unsolved that we don't know about. But here is where I would like to know what you think. I would love to know what you think about this case. Do you think that he got enough time in prison, if you're like me and think that he should have gotten life? Or you think that 34 years is a good amount of time? Because I think that by the time he gets out, he'll probably be almost 70. Do you think that he was the one that killed Charlene Graves based on the evidence that were brought before the court? I mean, if he killed Charlene and he killed Pedro Nixon in New York years before that, and he might have killed Moana if she did not escape, and God knows whoever else he had killed or murdered that we just don't know, I believe, wow, I believe Veron Primus could be a serial killer. If you think about it like that, he probably is a serial killer. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's discuss it, let's talk about it, and see you in the next one. Bye.